want to welcome you back for another interview of Changing the Perspective. Today I'm here with Doug Kramer, who I've known for probably 10 years from a business networking group a long time ago, BNI. I'm still involved. He's not retired. He has no reason to be there. We're actually coming to you from his house. We decided to come to him and really just be a part of his world as he tells his story. Today, I'm really excited to bring you another subject on addiction and homelessness, and really a great success story that we have coming to you today. So everybody, my friend, Doug Kramer. Hello, Doug.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you. Tell us where this all started for you.
Well, I started, just to lay some foundation, I was very athletically minded in high school, pretty straight and narrow. I did drink.
Okay.
We lived in a small town, and that's what we did for fun.
Yeah.
And cruised around the square. But I was adamantly against drugs. I felt they would interfere with what it is I wanted to accomplish in life. Okay. But as I grew older, I continued to drink. I realized pretty quickly that I probably was an alcoholic, but continued to function. Okay. A couple DUIs still didn't grab my attention, but at about the age of 23, I was very successful in the car business. I had been promoted to a used car manager. Okay. At 23. It was a six-figure income. Wow. And back in the 80s.
That's a lot.
So that was a lot back then. But anyway, my assistant manager, and I put no blame on him, he kept trying to say, hey, to get me to try cocaine. He said, just do a little line. It'll make you drink more beer at the bars, basically. And I pushed him away for years. Yeah. But one night I did. I tried it. And I was instantaneously addicted. Oh, wow. Now, there was a process involved into where I ended up. Yeah. But instantaneously, I knew I had found something that was going to change my life. And at the time, I thought for the better. Okay. But it wasn't. Yeah. So I tried it, and I liked it. And I'm going to fast forward. I became addicted to cocaine. I used cocaine. It became my life. It cost me my first wife. She left. She left pretty quickly when she found out. Ended up, I quit my job because the drugs were more important than the job. And found things and found ways to support my habit. And my habit got worse and worse and worse. I started isolating myself. I got into the timeshare business because I could work evenings and continue my habit. And it consumed me. It took over. I lived to use. Okay. And that was my life. And it was, how am I going to support my habit today? And I would do whatever it took. Okay. And I'm not going to get into the whole story, but it progressed to where I finally ended up being homeless. And sometimes I lived in shelters. Okay. Sometimes I lived on a grate. Sometimes I couch surfed. I slept with, usually the group I was hanging with in our industry usually had hotel rooms. Oh, okay. So I would maybe spend the night in the hotel room, of course getting high. Right. I transferred to crack cocaine. I was a full-fledged crackhead. Okay. So every night I was using for years. My habit lasted about 23 years. Wow. It is by the grace of God I'm alive. Part of my story is, I had this part of my face has been reconstructed due to a bad drug deal. There's been numerous times I should have been taken out, but God, He had a different plan.
Yeah.
So anyway, I spent several years homeless.
Okay.
And I would, I knew where the soup kitchens were. I knew where I needed to go if I wanted to rest. As I was talking to you earlier, I would go detox so I could rest and sleep and have a safe place for a few nights. Did that a number of different times, and the homeless shelters too. But mostly it was, how am I going to use? I'm more interested in using than I am in finding a place to sleep. And I did that for years and years and years. And it wasn't here. It was actually on the East Coast. I traveled up and down the East Coast working, but basically just supporting my habit.
Yeah.
And trying to find a place to rest when I got tired.
Yeah. Do you find that the homeless population, you didn't sleep well? You didn't get in your sleep and nutrition and all of that. Did you find that was definitely a problem in other ways?
Oh, absolutely. And it was the whole lifestyle caused me to not sleep properly and not eat properly. I am amazed at, I've got minor health issues now, but I'm amazed at what I thought. I didn't think I would be alive at 62.
Right.
Much less in fairly good health.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, sometimes I would go and just cop bologna out of a grocery store or whatever, and just so I could eat. Everything, your whole lifestyle is different than normal people. You know what I mean?
So you see the people on like the corners that are panhandling or whatever, and I know there's this very big split in the world of I help them or I don't. And most people choose not to because they say they're going to go use, or they're going to go get alcohol. They're going to go do something that isn't really for their own good.
Right.
Do you have any advice to the people that struggle with that?
What we do, first of all, I don't offer help every time I see someone on the corner. I kind of play it by ear in this inner gut feeling. I've helped people many times that were on the corner, but not with money.
Okay.
And they may, their intent may be to do the right thing, but if there is an issue in their life, handing them that money is probably going to cause them to go back to that issue that they're having in their life.
Yeah.
So we choose, my wife and I, we choose to try to help in other ways. I'm just going to be honest. If they really wanted help, they can get help.
Yeah.
They don't have to be standing there.
Right.
But even then, they're still hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and if they're not hungry, I've actually had someone, this is a true story, I've offered food to, throw it in the trash.
Wow.
Because that's not what they were there for.
Right.
So you just kind of got to play it by ear, I think. Yeah. That's my opinion.
We served at a homeless outreach type thing it was Christmas Eve or something a couple years ago. And the director of the homeless place we chose to help with, said he feels like it's too easy for those people to stand on the corner. And so I asked him the same question. What advice do you give someone who wants to help people? And he said to me, stop enabling. In their world, if those people aren't willing to work for it, they don't really need the help. And so he used to tell me, offer for them to do something in your yard and you'll give them $20 or whatever it is. And if they say no, they're not there for the right reason. And that kind of thing just always stuck with me, because
Yep.
when I see them, I'm like, oh, he said he could make more standing on a corner than he could getting a $10 an hour job.
Exactly.
And so he told me, stop enabling it.
Yeah.
It's hard though, when you have a giver's heart and you drive by them and you're like, oh, well, their situation probably isn't it's how they perceive themselves. So, okay,
That's good advice, though.
Yeah,
I think that's good advice.
It's
I don't mind feeding somebody. I'll help them.
Right.
And that is actually enabling. He's correct. But
Not
give somebody some food.
versus money.
Yeah. I would never give anyone staying on the street corner money.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that.
Okay, so back to your story. How did you break the cycle? How did you get
Well, I like I said, I had been addicted for 23 years when I finally quit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through 6 treatment centers, I think, several DUIs, been in the justice system. I never spent more than 90 days. And that was for shoplifting. So, because I did whatever it took to use. So, but I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, homeless. I didn't know where I was going to sleep that night. I had slept in a motel room the night before. I didn't sleep. I used crack that night. But I had gotten up, and I was wanted in Christian County for a car accident. It's part of my story. Mm-hmm. I had several charges I was looking at. And I was living under a fictitious name in Myrtle Beach. And I was supposed to be wearing a badge to do the job that I did on the boardwalk, and I didn't have it that day. And I got stopped by an officer, and she said, "Hey, where's your badge? I'm going to have to write you a ticket because you don't have your badge." And I don't know what it was, but something came over me. I was tired, for one thing. Something came over me and said, "You need to tell her who you really are." And so I did. I said, "Hey, here's my real name. I think I'm wanted in Christian County, Missouri." And she said, "Well, let me go look it up." She looked it up and said, "Yep, you are. You're coming with me." And that began the process of me never using again. That was October 17th, 2001. It was right after 9/11, I remember. And I began the process. I remember sitting in a jail cell. It's a holding tank in Myrtle Beach, and I was eating a bologna sandwich, and it tasted like steak. So I knew, I knew that probably I was doing the right thing. But honestly, sitting there, it was like I just told God, I said, I give up. I just said, I quit. I can't do this no more. My best thinking, Doug Kramer's best thinking, landed me right here in this orange jumpsuit in a jail cell. Yeah. I said, "Will you take over?" And I meant it this time. And I've said that before. I'd said it before, but it was something different. And I get a little emotional. I felt the jail cell. It wasn't audible, but I heard it. I felt these arms wrap around me. And I heard him say, "I've been waiting for you, son." And it wasn't audible, but I heard it. Yeah. And things got better. And I began the road to recovery. And I was 40-something years old. I had nothing. I ended up back here, and it's just a miracle how it all worked out. I mean, it's just a miracle. And God was involved in it the whole way because he knew I was serious. Yeah. So, but I ended up on the road to recovery. I ended up with a driver's license that I thought I would never have. Just amazing things took place. My parents allowed me to come back into their home because I had nowhere to go. Yeah. And that's part of my recovery was I had support, and it was real important. And they surely didn't have to be there because I had burned that bridge, literally. But anyway, I began the road to recovery. I I started working with my brother, who hated me basically, but he gave me a job, and I started working, started saving my money, and part of my story is I've always been able to take something from nothing and make it successful.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a curse, especially when you're an addict. But I basically, after about 3 years of being clean and sober, I started a business here in Nixon, Missouri. Started a carpet cleaning business. I had one, a couple of them that were very successful, but I always blew all the money. So, because I was a crackhead. But I started it. I prayed about it. I was doing the right things. I was in the right places. I was not spending time in the wrong places. And I know you had mentioned you had wanted to help with your situation. I was the same way. I wanted, after about 6 months, I wanted to go and help those just like me.
Right.
Well, I was involved in a recovery group at James River.
Okay.
And basically, my instructor said, "You're not ready." Yeah. Instead of pulling them out of the mire, they're going to pull you back down into the mire. You need to continue doing what you're doing right now. And I was on probation, and I had to stay clean and sober. I was going to prison. Is where I was going. But I did, and I took his advice, and now I look back, and that was great advice.
Yes.
Because I wasn't ready. But anyway, I just started the business, kept doing what it was I was supposed to do. I hated it. I hated probation. I hated struggling with taking urine tests. I couldn't do it. Oh, it's just a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, even when I was involved in B&I in the beginning, I was still on probation. But started this business. Get back to my story. I kind of go all over the place.
That's
Reel
all right.
me back in.
That's good.
But I started the business. It became very successful. I did very, very well. Started one in Kansas City. I started it for an outreach and to help my sister and brother-in-law. They ended up deciding they didn't want to do it, and so after 7 years, I ran it for the last year and then sold it.
Yeah.
So I was somehow, I don't know how it all worked out. I mean, it wasn't me, it was God, but somehow I was able to live a pretty good life in the last 25 years, 23 years. And, I went from being homeless to having a nice house.
Right.
I mean, I went from homeless to being able to retire. So, so I guess I would say there's hope. Don't give up.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy if you are the one that's involved in the addiction to give up. But it's also easy for those around the addict to give up.
Yes.
And I would just encourage you, don't give up. Don't enable them, but don't give up.
I think that's hard, that advice, because as a parent or a loved one, you just want to help so bad. And sometimes that's enabling them because that's how you feel like you have to help. Yeah. And I think hearing the stories now that I've heard of parents and loved ones that have been a part of that, it's hard to not enable because you want to do it out of love to make them comfortable. But truly, that's actually the downfall. That is the negative part. When we interviewed John Strope, he talked about addiction. He feels like addiction and homelessness both revolves around not having a solid identity in who you are. Yeah. So you fall to whatever's around you because you really don't know who you are. And it sounds like you found out who you are in your 40s.
Yep.
You discovered who Doug Kramer really was. Do you feel like there's a way for people to find that earlier? Is there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I chose for many. I knew early on what would the right thing to do. I knew, but I didn't want to do it. Okay. So I chose not to go down that route, the right route. Yeah. I chose to go the other way. And And I almost became more comfortable doing that than trying to do the right thing. Because I knew. I thought at 23, I'm going to have car dealerships. I thought that was the path I was headed down.
Yeah.
I knew God. I'd been raised, we didn't go to church every Sunday, but I knew God. I knew who he was. I got saved at 19. But it was my choice. I chose not to pursue that. I chose to go this other route. And part of it is the feeling I got using because, and it hid who I really was.
Right.
For years it did that. But I knew deep down.
Yeah.
Thank God I knew, because that's what got me to where I am today. Because I don't think at one point in my addiction that if I hadn't had that basic understanding of who God was, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
Because I probably would not have stopped.
Scary to think.
Yep, very scary.
It really is.
Very scary. And like I said, I've left out a lot of details.
No,
There's
that's
a lot of details
Yeah.
of things that took place that I shouldn't be here.
Right.
I just shouldn't.
So you made the choice to not go the right route, as you say, just continue to whatever. And I think hearing you say that it's uncomfortable to change. It's uncomfortable to choose the right route. It's hard.
It was real hard.
But if you look at your homelessness, that was hard.
It was real hard.
So when you're in it, you don't see it.
Yeah.
When I was in my abuse, I didn't see it all.
Yeah.
When I got out, it was obvious.
Yeah.
And so I hear you say that, and I just want to be able to look at an addict or a homeless person and say, I know you don't see it. Just trust that this is the right thing. I know you don't see it. Yeah. I didn't see it. No. I know you don't see it. How do you get to those people, though? How do you...
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, they have to make the decision to stop. Ultimately, it's not... Your parents can't make it for you. Your mentor can't make it for you. Your spouse can't make it for you. Brothers or sisters, you have to make it.
Yeah.
And that is a difficult decision because it's a hard decision. And you're right. We, as addicts... First of all, we're very, very smart people because we survive in a situation that most people, I call them normal, but most people would not be able to survive in that situation. And we survive. And there's the people that make it out of that usually become very successful because we take that ability that we use to survive and we turn that into something positive, and it becomes very... You mentioned John. I mean, look what he's done with Freeway. I mean, it's a miracle. And in my story, same way. Usually, if we will allow the process to take place, we have to allow the process to work out. That's the hard part. If we allow that process to work out, we usually become very successful in whatever it is we choose to do.
He will say criminals, and not all criminals, but most criminals are the most intelligent people you ever meet.
Absolutely.
He, from the very beginning, he made that statement, and I was like, why I agree. There's parts I don't agree with. And he said, and you can disagree all you want, but they make dice out of toilet paper in a prison, and they know how to pass notes in through the toilet system, and
it's crazy stuff.
There's some major intelligence. Not to be, left alone with, oh, by the way, they survived in some really crap situations. I probably couldn't survive it. I think I would probably melt down and totally be a horrible person because I don't think I could survive it. He is very clear to say those people are the most intelligent people that I know.
The ones that survive. Because not all of them survive.
Right.
So the ones that make it out of the situation and make it through all of it, they're very, very intelligent people.
You're the second person that is just like blatantly, that's how it is. And I think, from an outside person, you see that person and go, oh, they must not be very smart because they don't know what's good for them. That's not
it.
Right. So do you believe that in the homeless world, most people are homeless because of outside situations, whether it's they have some trauma they never dealt with, so now they're covering it with something else, or addiction. Or do you feel like that population really has underlying things that could be dealt with to help them?
I think so. And,
okay.
But it's a catch-22 because a lot of mental issues, and, a lot of veterans.
Yes.
So there's a lot of issues, but I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think they have to want to go get the help, though.
Yeah.
I know I was watching a deal where they were trying to set up a little program for the homeless in North Springfield.
Okay.
And they wouldn't come.
Yeah.
So how can we help them
if they're not even gonna,
if they won't show up?
Right.
And I understand, there's issues. Some of them are wanted by the law.
Right.
Usually there's underlying issues, but you got to reach out.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't reach out, it's hard to really be able to help them. If they won't say, hey, I need some help.
So from an outside person, I look at a homeless person and go, don't they want to help themselves? Like, that looks miserable. Obviously not.
Yeah.
So do they just have to hit a level of misery that I never see to decide they're going to get help?
Probably so.
Okay.
Again, at least in my situation, you do.
Yeah.
You did. And now there's, when it comes to mental health and
sometimes
something like that, I don't. I
right.
couldn't answer that. I just don't know.
Right.
But there's got to be help. We as a society need to be able to help those people.
Yeah.
And I think we can, but we somehow have to convince them that they need help.
Yeah.
And can be very difficult.
That is difficult.
Even in my situation, and I'm sure John would say the same thing. I had people offering help all the time. I had a mentor. I had a boss that, he took me to AA, NA. He would absolutely do whatever it took to get me clean and sober. And I would do it for a week or 2 weeks. But I was just doing it to appease him, basically.
Yes.
And same way with my parents and family. But when you finally decide, I've had enough, and you begin the process, and it is a process, you begin the process, you will get better.
Yeah. We discussed this before the thing, but the lies that you tell not only yourself, but your family to cover all your stuff. You can't be surprised coming back into the situation that they don't trust you.
Absolutely.
You literally have lied every sentence that came out of your mouth. Yeah. You told me a story about your family. It took years for them to re-trust you.
Yes.
And I think everyone out there who's dealing with this type of situation needs to know to be patient.
Yeah.
You may not trust the person that's the addict or the homeless person or whatever the situation. Give them some time. Let them prove themselves. Yeah. Because I think if people permanently write them off, you'll never get to prove yourself to the right person. So be patient.
Yeah.
I think that would be my advice in hearing us in discussing before this interview and what we've talked about here. Do you have any advice to anyone that's currently struggling with either addiction or homelessness that wants to try to get to a better place?
There's help. That's just the thing. There's help out there. People want to help. But you really do have to make the first step.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Some others may disagree with me, but I believe you have to make that first step as the addict or as the homeless person or whatever your situation is. Yeah. You have to reach out and say, I need help.
I'm ready. Let's do
Let's do it. And it'll be the toughest decision you ever make in your life.
Yeah.
But and I just want to comment on one thing.
Sure.
When you were talking about the family.
Yeah.
So people really understand, so the addict really understands. I see it over and over and over again, and John may have said this too. I see the addict get clean and sober and then get angry because nobody trusts them.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, for me, it was a 23-year process of destroying trust. Mm-hmm. How in the world can I think somebody is going to embrace me with their trust after I've broken that trust in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 1 year. Took my brother 3 years.
Yeah.
As I told you earlier, took my brother 3 years to finally say, hey, this is real this time.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I didn't understand. I didn't even know till he told me. I thought, we're all fixed. This relationship has been restored. And it hadn't. He still had harbored resentment. And I didn't. I was, because I knew it was real,
right,
for one thing. And now I had said that before to him, but I knew it was real this time. So, so I thought everything was fine, and he told me that. And I know my jaw dropped that day. But but that's we as the addict or the person that's caused the issue. We have to allow them time to process it and time to understand, hey, he's really has changed at this time.
You can have valid feelings of anger, but it's not justified to take it out on the person that you're earning the trust.
No.
I think anger is still a valid fear.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a valid feeling.
That's really good.
But you can be angry by yourself, but you have to be fair to the other person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we?
Nope. Just don't ever give up. Hope. I had an uncle. He prayed for me every night when I was in my addiction, and he died before I got clean and sober. But he, and this is a true story. He reached up. He was dying, and he reached up to my aunt and said, I know he's going to get clean and sober. I want you to pray for him. And my aunt continued to pray for me.
Okay.
So my point is, don't ever give up hope. That's my point. Yeah. Because you never know. You never know.
Never know when it's going to be your day. Yeah. Well, I want to thank Doug for being here today. I want to thank everybody for joining us with this story. It's such a fantastic story. I had heard bits and pieces throughout knowing him, but didn't really get the whole story until recently. So I'm super, super excited that I got to bring this to you all. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to our page so you can hear ongoing interviews. We've got several lined up. We're super excited about what we have for 2021. And hopefully we can just bring some hope and positivity to the weird, crazy place that we are all in right now. Amen. This world is very crazy and hectic, and we're just wanting to bring some calm to the chaos. So everybody, I hope you had a great week, and we'll see you next time.